thank you for inviting me to speak about this critical issue. My name is Parles. I'm a partner in Oversight from a law firm representing individuals with disabilities and their families. I'm also the mother of a 24-year-old young man with autism, and I have several concerns regarding the limited options for individuals with challenging behaviors offered under the new proposed plan. The revised plan, which is more restrictive than the federal regs, will limit options for the disabled, and in many circumstances could actually endanger the lives and health of our most vulnerable citizens. There remains a great deal of confusion about what the plan does, what it does not do, what the Fed requires, what it doesn't. The plan continues to limit choices. Under the plan going forward, as the committee's noted, DDD will only fund a 4 to 6 person group home or set-aside units in a development with no more than 25% of the residents are disabled. But in addition, the plan prohibits settings where the participant's home and vocational properties are located on the same programs, are located on the same property. This is known as a co-location ban. While only DDD can definitively answer the question of what they will require going forward, it appears that there will not be funding available in New Jersey for farmsteads, intentional communities, or campus-based programs. Now, why is there so much confusion over the mandate? Well, one of the reasons I believe is because rather than clearly stating the 4 to 6 bed limit or the 25 density restriction, the revised plan pointed to 2 federal programs. The Money Follows the Person and the HUD 811, neither of which dictates states' plans for adult services. The initial plan was revised, and when it was, there was a great relief for many people that they were not going to have to move from their current residential settings. However, it's proven extremely difficult to get answers from DDD on whether co-located programs will be continued to fund it. It's important to note that there's a significant percentage of our population that needs these campus programs to be safe. My son Andrew currently lives on Bancroft's Lakeside campus in Gloucester County, and it provides him with appropriate support and supervision. The presence of on-site behavioralists is a key component, as is the ability to remain productive in the campus on days when his behaviors make it impossible to go into the community. In addition, in a campus setting, if a crisis occurs, the response time of additional staff is significantly shorter than in a community group home. His campus is not an institution, and his experience there on many days is much more inclusive than life in a group home. Under the proposed plan, it's still unclear and unsettled that this outstanding program for 48 individuals with the most severe and challenging behaviors will be forced to change a successful clinical model. On many days, Andrew does participate in community projects, such as Meals on Wheels. However, in addition to working on these meaningful projects, Andrew has also tragically gone 3 days without sleeping, 6 days without eating, lost 100 pounds in 3 months, suffered a self-inflicted traumatic cataract, and most recently detached retinas to both his eyes, which required surgery. He was not successful in the community group home. It was also not an experience that led to more community integration. For all practical purposes, the only interaction that residents had with their neighbors was when the neighbors complained that the music therapist was too loud. The notion that simply placing individuals in a group home leads to an inclusive experience is a fiction. And there are many, many Andrews out there whose needs cannot be met in apartment settings or community group homes. In order to keep them safe, co-located programs must be permitted. In fact, given the need, many more must be built. The federal rule allowing for campus settings and settings where individuals live and work in the same location allows for this. In a December 3rd, 2014 letter, CMS Director Barbara Coulter Everett stated, "It's important to note that the regulation does not prohibit site-specific settings. The criteria is not based on physical characteristics or density. All regulations should be based on the outcome-oriented individual's experience and needs." Given the continued confusion about what the federal rule requires, I asked the national group, the Coalition for Community Choice, to review New Jersey's plan. Yesterday, a letter from the coalition, and the national coordinator states that New Jersey's plan includes more stringent criteria than the federal regs require and are based on physical characteristics. They also pointed out that New Jersey has unnecessarily relied on from two federal programs in crafting this plan. Money Follows the Person, which is a federal finance incentive designed to assist people at risk of institutionalization, does have a 4 to 6 bed limit. However, this federal program in no way mandates statewide housing policy and hasn't in most of the states. Neither does the HUD Section 811, which is also in the plan. According to the National Coalition, the bed limitation is not mandated by the rules and may in fact may be detrimental to New Jersey for states overly relying upon one type of setting may have run afoul of CMS rules. Moreover, CCC explained that although HUD 811 contains a density limit of 25%, there are many funding sources for affordable housing that don't have this requirement. Why are we looking at this one? These restrictions have no place in the plan, they serve only to limit choice, and they're stunting future developments of the type of programs that are desperately needed in New Jersey. DSH has ignored the revisions requested by stakeholders. Rather than clearly stating the bed limit or the density restriction in wily fashion, they rewrote the plan in a way that kept these discriminatory restrictions. By citing other federal programs, they caused more confusion. So hopefully we can now move on from there. A number of New Jersey residents have filed objections to the STP with CMS based upon the state's failure to make changes that were requested by the majority of stakeholders. In addition, New Jersey citizens have objected to DDD's misleading reliance on Money Follows the Person and the HUD program. They also based their objections on the lack of transparency in the process. The initial plan was released late in the day on January 26, 2015. There were only 2 public comment sessions, each of which was 2 hours long, and remarkably, the first one was scheduled for 10 a.m. the next day. Thankfully, there was snow. We had some time to read it. At the second session, testimony was limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers were cut off, even if they hadn't finished their statements. We have video microphones literally being torn from people's hands, including persons served. Approximately 80 people present wished to testify, but the session ended promptly after 2 hours, with only 36 having given the opportunity to have their voices heard. At that point, despite pleas from the audience, DHS officials walked out of the hearing room to the dismay of stakeholders. The unnecessary and untoward limitation of public comment was distasteful and it was disrespectful. Other states have provided far more opportunity for public comment and stakeholder input. Throughout New Jersey's process, there's been no transparency and very little cooperation. Unlike many other states, New Jersey released its plan at the 11th hour and left little time for constructive evaluation or revision. Many states began the plan early in 2014, issued multiple revisions, allowing for review and discussion. Multiple revisions, multiple stakeholder feedback. They also provided more opportunity for public comment than did New Jersey. I have many examples, but one, Wyoming, which is the least populated state in the U.S. and has a total population of 563,000 people, which is less than the population of Ocean County, had 8 public input sessions. In addition, New Jersey has failed to establish the type of cooperative process that exists where governments, families, providers have collaborated with the goal of expanding housing options. For example, Florida. They've awarded almost $50 million in tax credits to invest in the development of affordable housing, mandating that 80% of the units be for individuals with developmental disabilities. In Ohio, 14 members of the state congressional delegation, including the Speaker of the House, recently sent a letter to the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services in support of farm communities where residents live and work at the same locations. In addition to the right of integration, our disabled citizens also have the right to be adequately supported in programs that meet their actual needs. to be presented with options, and most importantly, to be safe. To those who say that all campus boat programs should be barred, I ask the following. If other citizens may choose among options, such as living in an over 55 community or on a college campus, why should the disabled not have that option of living within a campus community that keeps them safe and appropriately meets their needs? New Jersey's plan must be rejected.